I like it. I like it. All right, here we go.
Welcome now to Saints in the Shadows. Hear the stories of the saints, learn about things you never knew. See if you can figure out who the saint is before the end.
All right. Well, if you had the Periscope and you read the Periscope, this one today is not going to be any surprise because I actually released this one early just so that we could actually have it in the actual Periscope that you receive in the mail. Um, I will also say that if you have especially young children, this one might not be the one for them to listen to. You'll understand by the end of it, but just bear with me. Might not be the one for them. All right, here we go. And I'm going to read the whole thing, which is what I had for the Periscope. I'm going to tell you a story about a saint from our Christian history. We do not worship saints, but we do recognize people that have lived great lives of faith that came before us. However, being inspired by people like that I like to listen to, I have written this in the form of a mystery. See if you can figure out who the saint is before the story ends. Today's saint is an interesting one. If he were alive today, he would point you to Jesus. But there have been many over the years that have mistakenly pointed to him. They have fought over his bones after he died. They've resurrected churches, and while typically the church points to Christ, many misguided folks have at times raised praise to him. He was a part of the First Crusade, even though he didn't fight in it, and his legend is downright crazy. To start with, though, for today, we will simply call him the Wonderworker. That was his nickname. For that is what they called him. For what it's worth, anyway. Even if you travel to Wikipedia, you will see that title in bold letters in one of the opening paragraphs, and so he was. I don't want to mislead you. There are definitely some aspects of his story that, well, more than likely didn't happen. From supposedly raising people from the dead all the way to cutting down a demon-possessed tree. There are so many stories, and it's hard to tell exactly which ones are true and which ones are not. He was born to wealthy parents in the 3rd century. He lived on the coast in an area named Lycia. Lycia is in modern-day Turkey, and it has its coast on the Mediterranean Sea. While both his parents were Christian, they also died early. And this wonder worker was heavily influenced by his uncle, who was a bishop in the town of Lycia. When his parents died, he was left with their wealth. But the wonder worker did not look at wealth as something to be focused upon. Much of that wealth was given out in charity. During his time, the nation of Rome was seeing a resurgence with the Emperor Diocletian. The emperor saw Rome's greatness in the past, and so he decided to purge Rome of all the non-Roman religions. Christianity fell among these, and so the Christians were persecuted. Many that fell to him were killed or maimed. The ones coming out of this persecution, scarred from what happened, were oftentimes called confessors. The wonder worker could have taken that title. Imprisoned by this emperor and tortured until his eventual release by Emperor Constantine. After his release in the town that his uncle was bishop, he went to pray. However, his uncle had passed away. The church decided that when his uncle passed, that the next man to come into that church and to pray, well, that's who they were going to make bishop. And so it was before the time of seminaries. It was before the time of big colleges and 4-year degrees and everything else. So they just chose a bishop based on who came in to pray. Well, wouldn't you know it? Here comes the wonder worker. And that is how this wonder worker became, well, he became the bishop of Myra. Well, there are plenty of stories that surround this man. There is one we are pretty sure truly happened. There was a man in town who lost all of his money. He was wealthy, and then he wasn't. He had 3 daughters. But having lost all his money, he could not afford the dowry for his daughters to have a proper wedding. On top of that, being unable to marry meant that more than likely the best that they could do was to, in essence, become prostitutes. The bishop, hearing of their plight and yet not wanting to make a scene, sneaks to the house at night and throws money through an open window. The man immediately has the dowry and uses it to get his oldest daughter wed. A few minutes later, it happens again. And finally, the man decides that he's going to stay awake and see his great benefactor. And so it is that he catches Nicholas of Myra throwing money through his window. While this version of the story is probably the more historically accurate one, there are variations. There is one that has the coins going down the chimney. There is one where the coins land in the stockings hanging by the fireplace, or maybe they landed in the shoes. To this day, we celebrate St. Nicholas, although some of the traditions that have been built around him have stretched even his legend a little bit far. It is customary, however, in many places to celebrate him, not on Christmas Eve, but on his death day, December 6th. The custom of giving secret gifts, as Nicholas did, is very much in line with this celebration. Another one is to put coins in the shoes of those that leave their shoes out, or to open your hanging stockings, if you have them. However you do it, remember a man who is steadfast in the faith, who is beaten and tortured for it, and yet was still a man that was filled with grace and mercy to those around him. Remember a man who tried to live a life dedicated to Christ Jesus. All right. Now that ends that particular segment. Now there's also a story that St. Nicholas of Myra was actually at the Council of Nicaea, and that he got enraged at Arius and leapt across the table and punched him in the face, or slapped him, or something like that.
Have you seen the T-shirts with that?
I've seen a lot of memes with that.
Yeah, there's a few T-shirts, and man, I really want one, but I think I have to wait.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of question over whether or not that actually happened, or whether or not he was even at the council. So just be prepared for that. While that is a long-standing traditional kind of story, but it's not, we don't necessarily have a lot of documentation on that, I guess is what I'm saying.
Wow.
But it makes for a great story. And again, it is in some historical documents. They're just appearing well after the council. So, so anyway, all right. So here's the fun part. Well, I guess it's all fun, but anyway, for our, recipe for tonight, because again, this guy, St. Nicholas, and having St. Nicholas's Day of December 6th, it's a long-standing tradition, like goes way, way back. They used to make this thing called a Kloskoeken. I don't know how I'm not actually pronouncing that right. Klaskoeken. It was a type of like shortcake or cake that they would make in the image of St. Nicholas. But this was eventually taken over in the Middle Ages. That's right, the Middle Ages, by something called a speculoos.
Okay.
Yeah. These are Dutch words, basically, Netherlands and all that.
That's why I'm not following.
Here's the fun thing, and this is the fun thing. These things are so tied to Saint Nick that you can actually just look them up. You can do a search for basically Saint Nicholas cookies, and you'll find them. So do a search for Saint Nicholas cakes. That's the Kloskoeken, or the St. Nicholas cookies, which is speculoos, I guess, or whatever it is. So anyway, they're a very, very traditional cookie that was a lot of times made or cooked or baked on December 6th in celebration of St. Nicholas. It's also customary to put coins in the shoes of people that set their shoes out. So, if you have kids or something that set their shoes out, customary to put coins in there. Or if you guys do stockings and you guys are looking for a different stocking traditions, In a lot of households, it's actually very customary to this day to open your stockings on December 6th.
Ah,
So all of those are kind of great traditions that kind of go along with St. Nicholas. Hopefully, you guys have figured out why I didn't want your kids to listen. It wasn't because it was so gruesome, but we did talk about St. Nick's death day. So, I mean, just saying, uh, not a great way to start Christmas. Um, Now, in terms of a drink, and here's the other fun thing about this one. I think
milk, obviously.
there's a drink and it's called St. Nicholas's Helper.
Oh, okay.
And basically what you do is you get a thing of hot chocolate and you put like um kind of like a peppermint schnapps or peppermint something in there, right? Basically a
All right,
shot of the peppermint stuff. Now
that
here's
doesn't
the
sound
fun thing.
terrible.
Huh?
I said that doesn't sound terrible.
Oh no, it's actually really good. Um But here's the thing, like, if you're not the fan of alcohol, and some of us are not, some of our people are not,
Hey
it's
yo,
completely okay. You've probably done this one already. Just stir your hot chocolate with a candy cane.
yes.
Because again, the whole thing is about the chocolate and the peppermint flavor together. If you like alcohol and you want you want to use a cocktail, then by all means just get a basically some kind of peppermint alcohol or liqueur. If not,
Hmm.
just use a candy cane. It's
Yeah,
okay. You can drink this one kind of with your kids in that regard. The non-alcoholic
yeah.
version. But anyway, so it's just really good. It's really fun and it's really fitting for this type of year. And it's called St. Nicholas's Helper. Um,
I like it.
so yeah, so there you go, and so there you have it, Saint Nicholas of Myra, and I don't know if I'm actually saying that right. I think it's Myra or Mira or something like that. But anyway, uh, I'll leave the mispronunciations for other people that can correct me. So here we go.
And you know where Saint Nicholas ended up?
And so it ends. The light shines in shadow. And now you know more about the story of one of the saints of history.
I believe I hit the button a little quick.
That's all right.
They do actually believe they know where he ended up, but unfortunately, I don't remember. So
Well, I do. I think I brought this up probably last year, but he ended up in, or at least at some point in time, he was in the town, or I don't know if it was the town name or the area name or the country. I don't know, but it was the Barry,
oh,
and
that's right.
because I wrote a song like back in 2012 called "Santa Played the Barry," and it was just a like to feature my Barry saxophone players.
Mm-hmm.
And but all these years later, I found out that he was actually known at a certain point in time as Saint Nicholas of Barry, which makes my song sound like I'm really clever.
Yeah, you were so clever.
And I'd like to pretend like I knew that, but I didn't.
Yeah, you did. You've brought that up in the past. I
Yeah.
just completely forgot. Yeah. So
Now that what's interesting, as long as people's kids still aren't listening, is that's been a pretty big discussion lately on like social media of how are you going to explain to your kids when they come home and say, is there really a Santa Claus?
yeah.
And it's interesting to see what people are saying. But I heard one today actually where the mom said, I'm going to tell him that Santa Claus isn't an actual person. And I'm like, but he was. Like
Like
he
yeah,
is actually a
that's
person. He was
incorrect.
based off somebody. Yeah. So it's funny because they were explaining as like it's just like this Christmas spirit feeling thing of giving is better than receiving. And I'm like, no, but he was an actual person. Like there is actually a person he was based on, and there's a reason,
Yeah.
And so it's made me think like, I got a son who's now in public school, so one of these days he's probably going to come home and say a kid said that he's not real, and so I'm like, I'm gonna talk about this, Saint Nicholas, and that he was a real person, and talk about that with him,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it's just going to be a good opportunity to like talk about and focus Christmas on what it's really about, and not just like the whole idea of like commercialism and presents and but actually bring it back to, church and like a saint and all
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah,
I don't know, it's very interesting.
absolutely.
But
Absolutely. No, that's good. It's good. I mean, again, I think that is a conversation I think a lot of people have, but you're right on the money, right? Like, and depending on how you do the traditions in your home, it can be a lot easier. Again, if you just do stockings or something like that, and it's like, you know, yeah, you're ending some of the fun, some of that, but you're still keeping a lot of the fun in it. So, and
yes,
you got
yeah.
good reasons to do so. So,
Hmm.
all right. Well, it's getting later, so we better get on to the next segment.